So as you'll see, I gave you examples for Cobden Residential, Beechburg Residential, as well as Haley Residential. Okay, and just on page 19, Page 19, just give you a little bit of a history on the Cobden water rates, a graph to show you. And then the Cobden water budget, so you have it. And then I've done the same for each water plant. Page number 22, there is, so this is for the Beechburg as well as a graph for Beechburg. Again, the Beechburg water budget's behind it, as well as for Haley's. And then the water budget for Haley's behind that.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Can I go back, Marcia, to page 18? Can you explain to me the capital cost fee? Is that like no matter whether you use any water?
That's right.
Okay, so that's going to be, no matter if your water's shut off, you're going to be billed that much.
Yes, because they're still hooked up to our lines.
Yes.
And we still have to maintain that and repair it. And we weren't getting that fee. So if somebody were to shut off their water, we weren't getting that fee, though we budgeted for it during that year. So though we won't get our full amount that we budgeted for if they shut off their water, this will allow Whitewater Regions to recoup some of the capital costs that it costs to maintain.
I remember in the discussion we also talked about meters, a flat rate for meters.
A flat rate for meters. We have to figure something out. We already do have.
That'll come at a later date.
Well, we're going to have to sit down. We're going to have to do some research on that. Yes.
Okay. No,
because we don't
just remember that in the discussion. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear on what this. I was sure that's what it was, but I wanted you to just reinforce.
We had kind of discussed, if I remember correctly, with regards to the water flat rate, that the minimum amount would be the quarterly bill for the residential, for metered.
Oh, geez, I don't I'll have to go back and review it.
Do you remember that, Councillor McLaughlin?
I can go back and review it.
I do remember it in the discussion, but I don't think it ever went any further than discussion, and I think that was there, but I agree with what Marcia's saying, that we have that discussion because we need to look at that as well. It just wasn't working out properly.
Yeah.
So is that going to come back at a later date?
Well, I guess
with regards to metered rate?
Yes. Even though for our meter rates, we basically increased the meter rate for Cobden based on the was it 8 geez, I can't even think now what the rate was, 8.3?
Whatever the percentage increase was, but you didn't put a minimum?
No, we didn't put a minimum. We've never had a minimum in place, so yes, we'll definitely, I don't remember how that conversation ended, to be honest with you. Okay. I'll certainly look into it and go back on the video and see what we talked about, and then, and if it does come up, then we'll certainly bring it back, and discussion should actually at this point take place, because we do have a lot of our meters, one in particular who has a meter that it does not get billed very much, so.
Councillor Olmsted?
Just looking at the Cobden budget values versus actuals 2015.
For
Cobden.
Water?
Yeah, water, sorry. And I see there's a $10,000 difference there. In your estimation, is that due to people unhooking or calling in to?
That's exactly what it is, and that's what we're trying to recover.
So I see Beechburg, for instance, it's almost bang on, with the exception of the contribution from Ottawa River Power Corp. Do I read that one right? 335 versus 305, but the $30,000 difference is from Ottawa River Power Corp.
So
the reserve.
It was budgeted for in 2015, but there was never an actual because we didn't do the aquifer study.
Yeah, I didn't do the aquifer study. Yeah.
So it was budgeted for, but you'll notice in the actuals it's not showing.
So basically you budgeted for 305 and you received 305.
Are we back in Beechburg or
for billing?
Yeah, for billing.
For billing. There we go. Yes.
So you received almost to the dollar what we budgeted, and Cobden was almost $10,000, really.
Well, see, what happened was last year, if you guys recall, we did have a really big hike in the sewer, and we had no rate increase for Cobden Water. We, council didn't pass, so they got a 0% increase. But we did have a high increase for Cobden in the sewer of 33, I don't remember, but 33, something like that. So, you know,
So sorry, last question on that, on Cobden Water, the 352, is that including any past due accounts, or is that's actually received?
where's that one?
For
Beach Road Cobden, let me just, sorry.
So Cobden received 352?
So that would be the actual billing?
Yeah.
And anything that was not received due to outstanding water, same as taxes,
Yeah.
would be on an accounts receivable, would be on the,
Yeah.
So it's not
in the
in
books
your...
otherwise.
not
You
in your
record the
total
revenue even though you
Yeah.
haven't received it. As soon as you bill it, you record your revenue.
So sorry, it would be included in the 352 then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I know that we did have a lot of people come in from Cobden to shut off their water.
Thank you.
Okay, so those are all the water budgets. And then, from pages 28 to 43, that is all the general budget. Now, I know council had, had asked to try to ensure that we do have a fair, transparent budget. And I really do feel strongly that this budget is fair, is transparent. We are certainly providing, services. We are providing projects that are getting done, that need to get done. We are using the gas tax, which is available to us. We have put Ottawa River Power Corporation money in certain projects. So I think that this is certainly, a 7.2% increase in levy, I think is certainly valid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Baker?
Can I just ask, Marcia, what is a special supplementary?
Those are anything, like if somebody had an addition and we don't get, it's not on their first bill, so we'll get it from MPAC to state that, that they've, now you have to give them another bill due to the assessment has gone up.
Okay, thank you.
So new houses or new garages or pools or whatever is increased. Yep. Any other questions with regards to the budget? Councillor McLaughlin?
I'm just looking and thinking about this police cost, and I think we need to have it on a big discussion on a protective services committee meeting on what can be done. Because like 5-point-some%, that's an awful increase to be given to our tax people, to our taxpayers. So we need to have a discussion. Is there a user fee? Is there some way that we can recoup some of that cost somehow? But I think this is not the place or the time for the discussion, but I'd like to see it put on to a protective services committee meeting, if that would be okay with the chair, where we could really discuss it and see if there's some way we can come up with it. But also, I think in our tax bills, we need to show people that every call costs. I don't know, that's just my thoughts, some way to try and reduce that cost, because that's just criminal.
Now, I have checked the budget, I have checked the news and stuff, and a lot of the municipalities, that is one of their main keys, is the fact that the police have gone up. And I think it was Admaston and Bromley that went up 8.9% levy increase, and a big part of that was the OPP.
It's a huge focus for the ones of the municipalities that still have not reached full billing, and Whitewater is one of them. Some of the larger municipalities actually saw a decrease because they were paying for the full administrative cost, like the town of Renfrew, because they had the OPP station right in the town of Renfrew. So they were actually paying more before. They're probably, I'm not sure, but I would think that they're receiving a huge decrease because it's now being spread amongst the neighboring municipalities. Some municipalities haven't changed much. I know Laurentian Valley actually went down a couple of $1,000s overall, but they were always paying a good portion of the OPP costing. So, and it's very difficult. So, if and when that goes on the Protective Services Committee, perhaps I can share some information to get into a report to feed the discussion sort of thing on what we need to discuss, and if that helps.
So this is it for the budget presentation.
Okay, is there any other questions? Because I do have a motion to adopt the budget, and then in the next, when we have our special council meeting, we'll have a bylaw passing the budget with the tax rates and all that. So, Councillor Mackay?
I just want to say I really like the way you did this, and it's easy for dummies like me to read and figure out what's going on, because it's a little bit confusing. So you did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a job well done. Councillor Olmsted?
Took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I think we have to recognize, not for ourselves, but for Marcia as well, from one year to the next. I didn't understand. First year councillor last year, and it took a while to gain an understanding of numbers. And I am a numbers guy, but to understand where things move. But this year, it seems like it's really easy to read and very, very well done.
Thank you.
I would like to.
Yay! Yeah. Again, thanks for all the help.
And now, staff is faced with the challenge, and I know Councillor Jackson's been through this for many years, of trying to explain what all this means and what the impact is on your tax bill and the difference, the levy and the tax rate, and it's difficult. It's hard if you're not, well experienced with $8 million budgets. It's hard to wrap your mind around, so that's kind of the next challenge for staff. And we'll do the best we can to explain it, that people can understand it.
Okay. So we'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Rigueur. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends that Council adopt the 2016 capital operating water, sewer, and reserves budgets as presented by the Treasurer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Bill, I think Bill.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the hiring policy update. So the CAO has done as asked with regards to making the additions in red and deletions in, strikeouts and all of that. So it clearly identifies the changes that have been made. Is there any questions with regards to the hiring policy as it sits now? Everybody's good with that? So I'll read the motion then. Moved by Councillor Rigueur, seconded by Councillor Mackay. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends the that changes to the human resources hiring policy be approved by council. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. The next item on the agenda is the hours of work and overtime policy update. And again, the strikeouts and additions have been recorded. The different changes have been made. Just one question with regards to office hours for myself. Summer hours may apply as in flex hours for the office, may be scheduled to respond to service needs. Can you explain that, Christine?
Yeah, that language was in the original policy. That wasn't changed. It's been there. It can be removed if you wish.
I don't think there are any summer hours. I think going back in history, if I may, originally the office used to be open from 8:30 to 4:30, and then and an hour for lunch. And for the summer hours, I believe at one point it was changed from 8:30 to 4 to allow people off at 4 o'clock in the summertime, and they took a half an hour for lunch. And that has since been rectified. The actual hours are 8:30 to 4, and that's why you see the strikeout of 4:30 p.m. So perhaps we can strike out summer hours apply. Is there any need for flex hours maybe scheduled to respond to service needs? I think 8:30 to 4 probably covers everything. Is that okay to strike that out as well? And then everybody knows that we're open 8:30 to 4 Monday to Friday. Okay? Including the winter and summer. Councillor McLaughlin?
I was just thinking of leaving it in because if there happens to be at some point we need to man the office because there is an event or something, then it would be there to leave it there to be used. Am I wrong in my thinking?
It would then be overtime, if it was to be, because these are regular hours. I think originally it was put in place because of the
Okay,
summer
I was
hours.
just thinking that because I guess in an emergency you can't force people to work. Is that correct?
We can ask them to work.
Yeah.
You can't force anybody to work overtime, but you can ask them to work overtime.
And that's why I was thinking about leaving that part in there, so that it could be, if it needed to be manned for some unknown reason.
But these are, just to clarify, these are normal operating hours, not outside of normal hours. So outside of normal hours, you could do whatever you like.
Okay, no,
is that
I'm
okay?
done,
Does that
done with the
clarify?
discussion, that's fine.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we can make that one change then, Christine? Just strike after 4 p.m. and just leave it at 4 p.m. and strike out summer hours may apply, flex hours may be scheduled.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay. So I'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Regier. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends that changes to the Human Resources Hours of Work and Overtime Policy be approved by Council as amended. Just put the words "as amended." That's okay by the mover and seconder. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the website 2016 scope of work. There's a listing here of what the few options are. I still of the opinion that it's rather high It's at least double the price that it would normally cost to do this type of work. Typically, it's about 100 hours to complete a revamp of a website, and I find it extremely high if we're doubling that kind of a cost. My concern, I know there was comments, I think, from Councillor Regier the last meeting, was that we go ahead and allow this gentleman to continue on, do the website updates. My concern is you're paying for it twice. If he's going to do the website updates and then we tender it out next year and there's website updates to do again because of what this gentleman did or didn't do, then we're actually paying for the same service twice. And that would be my only concern, and that's why I would prefer to send it out to tender and get it done the first time correctly rather than revisiting it again at a later date and pay for it again. Mayor Johnson?
He has completed about 50% of it at this point, and I asked him some questions when he was in the office, and he is doing this in conjunction with, it's all being set up as he goes, so that in the future, if we want our staff to do all the upgrades, that's all part of this. But we've gone through half of it already, and we also incorporate with him weekly services that our staff doesn't have the time to do. So we have him doing a lot of extra work other than this upgrading that if we decide to change would come off the bill. He wouldn't be doing it if we decide to change it, but at the present time he's doing it so that we can relieve our we're short-handed, so I mean it's a good thing to keep him going. What I read here, I think we're well within our rights to let him go to the end of the year, and I don't think that anything that he does would have to be redone if we did it gave it to another person or did it at the end of the year, because he's qualified. It should all be of the same character, and that's what he is saying, that this is just like a standard format that they're all using, and so and he's done it all along. But I know I'm not an IT person, but I have been in contracting for a long time, and I call it the used car salesman approach. Everybody will tell you that they can do it cheaper, and so they would, to me, before we would change anything, these people will have to come and actually give us a presentation, because this gentleman has already shown what he does. He does it. It's working. He's changing everything to go to what we asked, and what I'm reading on there, it's actually getting very easy to operate compared to what it was. So I'm in favor of going through and let's just get them to do the rest of the year, and we have already paid for quite a bit of the service, so.
We've paid $3,200 is my understanding.
Yeah. And we have it in the agreement that he can't go over the 10,000, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere near it.
I'm not aware of any agreement in place.
Well, I'm of the understanding that he has agreed to this.
Our agreement to this point has been verbal. He has given us 3 options here, and just to make one correction, what he is recommending is yes, option number 2. I'm just trying to find the phrase of content management services that allow us to get in and change things that happen all the time, like the fire ban and time-sensitive announcements, etc., but not full WordPress corporate management services, simply because at the present moment there's no one with the time to be able to manage the entire site, putting all the changes in. Now, when we get our staffing up and running, and I don't see that happening before the end of the year, by the time people learn their new jobs, to be able to perhaps take that over, that might be something that we look at for the future. But I certainly think option 2 is fair. It totals $11,350, so the amount line item we have would give us a bit of pad. And as per my report, we haven't had any complaints about our website being difficult to navigate, or we haven't had any complaints at all.
I've heard lots of complaints of people who can't find where the agendas are, people can't find where it's posted, the videos. I still don't know where the videos are for the meetings. I haven't been on looking for them lately, but I know when I did go look for them, I couldn't find them. But I have had comments that it is difficult to maneuver through. And I know it is extremely overpriced. I know that for a fact, that it is overpriced compared to what others pay for a total revamp and training for 100 hours, no more than $5,000, and that's staff trained, website revamped, and everything.
I just want to make a comment, like if you open our webpage, you push on agendas.
Now it's there, but the agenda, yes.
Yeah, he's doing the upgrades now and making it very simple, but everything that you want is just touch it, it's right there. I use it all the time. I think it's very easy, and it's getting easier because of the bullets.
Reed Miller.
Could it be that the extra money in part is because this should have been broken down to he's actually running the site versus doing the upgrades? Because Christine mentioned that the fact that he's having to update the information daily because we have nobody on staff that's qualified to do it. So I often wondered about this, if this shouldn't have perhaps been broken down earlier. The last time we spoke of this, it almost sounded like a bunch of the money that's needed was needed just for basic maintenance, which I would hope at some time we'd have the people trained to do that.
See, 100 hours wouldn't come close to being all we need to go through till Christmas even, to do all of the stuff, unless we put an IT person on it ourselves, then we got to pay them.
My understanding, the $8,100 until end of fiscal year, revisit and review results of this option at the end of fiscal year to determine the needs at that time. Do we need to reduce the number of hours or add to the hours? $8,100 at $35 an hour. That's a lot of hours. That's 231 hours. That's a quarter of a person, pretty much.
We don't have a quarter of a person though to put to it. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think we need a quarter of a person. It doesn't take long to change things. And maybe because I know what it does, I know what a website should do, and I know what a website can do, and I know that the fire chief phones in and says, put the fire ban on, and I tell somebody that there's 2 people in the office that can do it, and they go in, and within 1 minute, the fire ban notification is on, and it didn't take 2 hours to update, and it's a 1-minute job. But I know from experience how long things take, and if it's set up properly in the first place, and that's my concern. Is it going to be set up properly? And so if we pay all this money, and it's still not user-friendly for staff to do things in 1 to 5 minutes, then we're overpaying, and that's my concern. Is I'm not pushing any one individual. I have yet to name the company that I've dealt with in the past, but I've dealt with a couple, and I'm not pushing that one, and I certainly wouldn't, state the name, but I think you put it out to tender, and then you know exactly. They come, they do a presentation like you said, and they show what other websites do and how easy it is to manipulate around the website and how easy it is for staff. If you've done a report on a typing report, then it's as easy as that, as putting something on the website.
My fear is now, when we put it out to get pricing, and if we can get apples and apples and apples to come back, and that means that we would be basically shut off our website and all our postings as is right now. Because nobody's going to keep upgrading our website for us if they're putting in a price. It would shut it off
Do people
completely.
stop collecting the garbage because we went out to tender? Do people stop providing us with sand because we went out to tender? Do people stop providing us with other services, dog services, because we've gone out to tender? I think that's not a legitimate.
I think actually
argument.
a lot of them do that, but what if he's going to do it for free? He's not going to do it.
He would be paid for
we
what
have to
he
do all of
does,
the pay.
but we would limit what he would do and wouldn't revamp the website. He would continue to post as needed the changes that he has been doing, but it certainly wouldn't cost us $8,100 to do that in the time limit that we could get a website tender out and back and evaluated. We might have to spend another $2,000, but it's been $3,200 from January 1st to today's date. If we go another month, it's not going to be $3,200.
No, but we've spent 3,200. If you're saying that we should only spend 5,000 and we spent 3,200 already, we're still going to spend $8,100 before we come out of the end of the year if we get somebody that tells us it's going to cost us 5,000 to do the rest of it. That's my point is, no matter what we look at it, we're going to be at the end of the season, we're going to be at $8,100.
But we won't be at 13,000.
No, but then there's a very good chance that we won't be with. Well, we'd just stop it at what he's proposed in number 2. We can take that option.
Councillor Olmsted?
Just to be fair to the contractor, I just want you to be clear on the number of hours and the work that he stated. In option number 2, you quoted, I think you just did simple math, 8,100 divided by 35. But if you read all of option 2, there's $1,000 in there for redesign, $1,500 in there for infiltration, etc. So the actual hours that he has is 5 hours a week at $35 an hour for the next 8-month period. And I think he has in there, 5 hours to 32 weeks, 160 hours is what that's being billed for. So his hours are actually $5,600 for his hours, not $8,100.
Right.
I want to be fair to the contractor. It's not $8,100 for his hours. It was 160 hours total to the end of the year.
And that's for updating weekly or whatever it is.
That's the 5 hours per week that he has to revisit, etc.
Which is extreme.
And so the 8,100 is made up of $1,000 for redesign of whitewaterregion.ca, $1,500 for redesign of infiltration, and then it looks like there's some note charges in there, and the balance of it is the $5,600 is for his hours. But to be fair to the contractor, I think we need to be clear that it wasn't just all hours, so 8,100 divided by 35.
Councillor Rico?
I agree with our mayor. At this time, why reinvent the wheel? Why not just continue on, finish out the year? At the end of the year, we can put it out to tender, take a look at it then. But I think for right now, I say we just continue on. We don't start over. I think starting over could absolutely, Councillor McKay, could cost us more money to start from beginning. This individual is already familiar with the website. He's familiar with everything. So I agree with the mayor. I'd like to see it till the end of the year, put it out to tender in January if we have to. And then I'd be very interested, Councillor Jackson, how much the difference is.
It's huge. Reid Miller?
I also would support that, but I would hope that we all learn from this, that really this all got going because we went over the limit, and that we already got to the point where we were spending money towards that limit, and the end game was 13,000. So it could very well be the best play is to finish out the deal. But we should all learn from it and ask our staff to stay within the tendering process limits or the guidelines in our policies from this point forward. Would that be fair? Yeah. Before we commit to part of a deal or part into a deal.
Councillor Olmsted?
Is there an actual motion to be read?
There is.
Just in interest of being 7 o'clock and lots more on the agenda, I would vote to go ahead and read the motion.
Okay. Can I make one further suggestion? If we're not going to do anything this time, that it come back for the month of October so that the tender process can begin in 2016 and the successful tender will take over in 2017 in January, and we're not sitting in June waiting for this to happen again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay? Moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Rieger. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council to include a budget line item of $13,000 to complete website upgrades and content management system improvements that are underway for 2016. And should we put to come back in October in this, or will I leave it to Christine to bring it back?
Put it in there.
Tender process for website yes.
Should we change it to the actual, I think the actual amount would be $3,250 plus the $8,100?
Plus the $3,200 that we've already spent.
Right, but doesn't come to 13,000. Should we put the actual amount in?
Well, it's a budget line item of 13,000.
It does, we don't have to spend everything that's on the budget line.
Okay.
So 8,100 plus the 3,200 that we've spent. Do you want to change it to 11,350? Then we've got to do the budget again.
No.
Just saying.
We don't have to spend all the money in the budget.
Okay, so I've added tender process for website to start in October 2016. Okay, I've just added that onto the bottom. The mover and the seconder is okay with that? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission Budget Performance Report. It's the Pembroke and Area budget for 2016. So they actually have the actuals as well. And pursuant to their request, we have to have a resolution to pass this, approve their budget. So this motion needs to change to say that the township approves the budget. That's what's in the letter that was received in other municipalities. It's stated right in the letter that it was to approve. Councillor McLaughlin?
And I think that is because if all municipalities don't approve it, then the budget doesn't pass. It has to be total, and that's why they're coming back to each different municipality as well, just for clarification.
Christine?
I haven't seen that letter, and I'm not aware of that requirement, which is why I worded it, but certainly if it needs to be changed, then you should.
Okay. So I'll change it receives and files to approve. And I'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor Rieger, seconded by Councillor Mackay. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission Budget Performance Report. And it says for 2016, but we're approving the 2016 budget. To approve the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission budget for 2016. Is that okay with the mover and seconder? Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission budget for 2016. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.